kids are going to be able to do, but you want to be purposeful in one way, in that there's multiple strategies to solve a problem.
Okay.
So for example, I would not want to give them something as simple as 2 plus 2, knowing that they could just group 2 and 2 at this grade level.
Okay.
I would want to give them something that's a little more, that has more strategies. For example, in this book, there's a pattern, and you can see that the student was, 3 students were able to solve this in 3 different ways. It's the same pattern all 3 times.
Okay.
And so it's not about getting the answer right. It's not about having 6, I know 6. It's not about that. What Number Talks is about is the strategy that they used, and then thinking about their thinking.
Okay.
And it's using flexibility with numbers. It's not about knowing that this is 6. It's about knowing that 6 can also be represented as 2 groups of 3. Or it can also be represented as 3 groups of 2. And it can also be represented as 2 groups of 3.
Okay.
This way, which is a little bit different than this way. So there's flexibility with not only how many you group, but how you group them. And so one of the activities that I'm going to do first with your students is this particular activity. And I'm going to ask them how many triangles there are.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume that they know that it's 10. And then I'm going to start asking them how they saw it.
Okay.
How did you see it? And so that's really hopefully going to start stretching their mind, that it's not about the right answer, although the right answer is important, but it's about how they're seeing mathematics.
Okay.
And then mathematics can be a flexible activity. There's not one black and white path to get there.
Okay. And if they do give the wrong answers, we don't dismiss them, or how do we?
If they told me that there was 8, I would write down 8. So when I
Okay.
start Number Talks, I'm going to ask all of the students to learn some common hand signals.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask them, when you have an answer, I want you to put your thumb like this. This tells me that you have one answer and a strategy. If they see this in multiple ways, or they can form multiple groupings with this activity, then I would then ask them to show multiple strategies.
Okay.
If they give me an answer like 8, I would document it. I would document 10, 12, as many as they see. And again, that's not how many strategies that came up with, but those are different student answers. And then I would ask them to justify their answer. And I would acknowledge it. And I would ask them, which answer are you justifying?
Okay.
So if they said, I'm justifying that there are 8, I would say, great, let's talk about it.
Okay.
How do you see 8? And they may say, well, I see 3, and I see 2, and I see 5. And at some point, they're going to realize there's more than 8 on this page, and how did that work out for them? And so you'll see when we do this, what we're really examining is their thinking.
So I'm not correcting, more or less, just to clarify, not correcting, not getting no, or I'm not giving the right answer either. Am I giving
No.
the right answer?
No, you're
Okay.
the facilitator of the learning activity, and they're
Okay.
the learners.
Okay.
It's really hard. This is not a direct instruction activity.
Okay.
There could be some direct instruction at the end. They're missing something that you really wanted them to see as you're getting
okay.
into more complex tasks. If you really want them grouping by 10s and they kind of miss that, and they've only been grouping by 2s or 5s, especially in K2, then you might want to point out, this is a more efficient way, or you could ask, is there a more efficient or quick way? And then ask them to maybe repeat that strategy in the following days to try to duplicate that activity or strategy that you showed them.
Or reinforce with, okay, I see.
So this is just a commentary about this dot card that I'll leave with you, and essentially what it does is it just reminds us that Number Talks is asking kids what they see rather than what is just the correct answer.
Okay.
And it's using that flexibility with numbers. So after I do this activity with the students, I'm then going to ask them to engage in something that I would maybe see as a good entry point for grade 4. And so I've actually picked, the way that this works is each category has some sort of tasks. So this particular one is you want them using, making 10s.
Okay.
Because 10's a very easy number for kids to work with.
Okay.
And we want them thinking about that. Like how can, we do it all the time. If you're at the store and you see maybe 4 and 6, you might quickly group that in your head and you don't have to count on.
Right.
So this particular group and category of making 10s helps them see that pattern.
Okay.
So all of this would be making 10s as an efficient way to solve each of these problems.
Oh, okay.
So as a good entry point, I'm going to go ahead and do the second string and the third string.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and leave this first string off just because I thought it was kind of really easy, and
Okay.
I'm not sure that they're going to get a lot of different strategies out of it.
Okay.
So the first one I'm going to do is 9 plus 3 plus 1 plus 7.
Okay.
So I'm going to do the formal, tell me when you have an answer,
Okay.
let me know how many strategies you can come up with. And so just together, I would like to kind of go over this and practice and see how many different strategies we think the kids could come up with.
Okay.
So what do you see when you chunk that or add that?
I'm trying to find numbers that I can make 10 with. So like 9 and the 1, 3 and the 7.
Okay. So I would agree too that the answer is 20. So I would ask them for that first. If they came up with something else, I would ask them to justify.
Okay.
And it's okay if we make mistakes and we skip that step. It's okay to back up and say, we're learning how to do this. It's okay. And so don't be afraid to make those mistakes. It's okay. We're learning, and I make them too. It's okay. So you said that you saw the 9 and the 1 equals 10, and you saw
3 plus 7 to make another 10.
the 3 and the 7 equals another 10.
And then from there, 10 plus 10, I added to equal 20.
10 plus 10 equals 20. Is there another way that you might see the kids solving this problem?
Well, I can see them, 9 plus 3 first, then 1 plus 7, or just add on as they go 9 plus 3, whatever answer that is, plus the 1, or in pieces.
Okay, so let's do each of these. So you said 9 plus 3. Why do you think they might start there?
I'm thinking it's the first two numbers, it's all addition, first two numbers, they're going to add.
Absolutely, and they do that all the time. It may not be the most efficient way, but and that's okay, because what we're trying to do is show them that there may be a more efficient way when they get to the bottom of all this.
Gotcha.
So that's great. So maybe then from there they just added the 1, so 12 plus 1, just because it came next, and they got 13. And then lastly, they might add the 7, and get to the 20. Great. You'll notice that right here, I stopped because I was going to make an unequal equation.
I see.
And I don't want to do that, and that's okay. It's okay to stop and point it out to the kids and say, would this be equal? It wouldn't. So you want to change direction as you're going through these.
I see. Yes.
Okay, so let's try another one. 9 plus 3 plus 1, because I heard you say something else, maybe from here to here. I'm not sure how you stated it. You said they might start here. 9 plus 3 is 12. Maybe they then lumped this.
Yes, like the 2.
Excellent. So maybe that's another way that they could have seen it together. That would have been the 20. I think that they're going to come up with some pretty clever ways, and so we just need to be ready. And just remember, you're constantly trying to pull it out of them. Don't just write down what you think they're saying.
Okay.
Force them to tell you what to write.
So I'm asking them maybe why, or how did you come up with it throughout, really.
Yeah, it's those reflective questions. And so you constantly want to be thinking about, so I shared some possible language for math.
Okay.
And we talked about maybe wanting to post a couple of these sentence frames around the room just to remind the students to think about how did they see it, how are they going to share their thinking if you come around or if a peer is asking. And so you might want to just hang some sentence frames to help you remember the language of math and reflectively asking, how did you see that? How did you know that? Where did you get that information from? Could you tell me more? Gotcha. And it's not leading the conversation, it's more just pulling the mathematics out of their brain.
Okay.
It's okay if they make mistakes in their thinking. Try to build in the norm that that's safe. That's how we learn. The norm that we are not going to overcorrect them or others aren't going to jump in. Give them some patience and some time.
Okay.
Another symbol I'm going to teach your students is this one. I know I'm thinking like you're thinking. That'll give some of your students the opportunity to participate, even if it's not their turn. And it'll give the person who's talking some positive reinforcement to keep going.
Okay.
I'm thinking what you're thinking too.
Gotcha.
That's kind of that symbol. So I just wanted to point out some reasons why I graphed certain things in certain ways. I've already talked about how I wanted to be careful here because I don't want to create,
Okay, and you're right, that I would have not caught that if it's, well, for later on, they might not catch it, but you're right, an equality would have to match on either side.
Right, if I wrote 9 plus 3 equals 12 plus 1, that would have been 12 is equal to 13, and that would have been an incorrect statement.
Okay.
So we just need to be careful with modeling. I also rewrote the problem every time because as the students are working through, I could see some students getting lost. So I'm just graphing what you're thinking, but I'm not making the connections with where you got those numbers.
Okay.
So if I just wrote 9 plus 1, 3 plus 7, 10 plus 10, they might say, well, where was the 10 and the 10? So just tracking their thoughts. This is one way to do it.
Okay.
I might even add student names next to it, so I could keep account for how many students I have
Okay.
that have participated and coming back to their thoughts personally. So
Okay.
I agree with what, Jake said or what. However,
Okay.
I'm not gonna know your students' names today, so that wouldn't be something I could do today, but you could do that as a teacher moving forward.
Okay.
This particular activity is called making tens. Everything that we did was making tens today.
Okay.
If a student were to pull information from these numbers and distribute them, that would be called compensation. For example, if I took a 2 from the 7 and made a 5, that's compensating. I'm compensating these two numbers. Pulled this here, I would have had 10, 5, 5. That would have been another strategy.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and have you try graphing one out that you're going to be doing today. And we're going to do the next string, which is 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4.
Okay. So should I say it as if I'm asking you maybe, or?
Sure. We could
Okay.
practice.
Okay. Tell me how many ways you can solve this, or show me how many ways you can solve this.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to give me some answers? Can you give me some answers?
Sure. I saw 20.
20. Any others?
16. Good.
Okay, how did you solve this? Can you show me, or can you tell me how you solved it?
Yes, I got 20. I got 20 because I knew that 5 plus 5 is 10.
Okay. Okay, so you knew 5 plus 5 was 10,
And 6 plus 4 is 10.
and 6 plus 4 is 10.
And 10 plus 10 is 20.
Nice.
Another way that I solved it was I saw that I had 5 and 5 already, so I just moved 1 from the 6.
1 from the 6
and I
to
moved
the
it
first
to
5?
No, I moved it to the 4.
Oh, okay. So then you added,
5 plus 5
okay.
plus 5 plus 5.
Oh,
Because I know 5, 10, 15, 20.
nice job. Any other ways?
Yep, I did 5 plus 6.
Okay, 5 plus 6.
Is 11. I knew that 5 plus 4 is 9.
Oops, I'm sorry. 5 plus 4 is 9.
And 9 and 11 is 20. So as you're thinking about number talks moving forward in your planning, one of the things you're going to have to do is the math. You're going to have to do this activity. I wouldn't formally sit and do it